Yo, the single most powerful factor behind my investing success has been compound interest. Start early and think long term. I became a billionaire at the age of 32. I am currently worth $90 billion, and I'm the third richest person in the entire world. My wealth has come from a combination of living in America, some lucky genes, and compound interest. So listen up, yo.
Well, hello, this is Doug.
And this is Roman.
And today we're going to talk about compound interest. Are you familiar with compound interest?
Not really.
Not really. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
You have heard of it. Okay. So Warren Buffett is, as you know, one of the richest guys in the world, right?
Yes.
And he is, what, a billionaire?
A multi-billionaire?
Yeah, he's a multi-billionaire. Very good. So Warren Buffett says compound interest is the reason that he's a multi-billionaire. It's the reason for his success. Compound interest is a very important concept for people to realize, for kids to realize, because you're young, and compound interest happens over the years. It accrues over the years. And if you start when you're young, then you're leveraging time on top of it, which is what it's all about. Here we are with our little spreadsheet here. Here's compound interest. And what we did is we said if we took $10,000, right?
Yes.
And it gained 4% every year for 10 years, this is what the numbers would look like. So you take $10,000, you multiply it by 1.04, the return for that year, the rate of return for that year is 4%, and you have what?
$400.
So you earned $400 on the $10,000, right?
Yes.
Because 4% of $10,000 is $400, right?
Yes, true.
True. You don't spend that money, right? You don't go buy anything with that money. What you do is you take the money and you take everything, and what do?
You put it back in.
You put it back in. Boom. So now year 2, you put $10,400 into the stocks or whatever it is you're investing in, right?
Yes.
And you multiply it by 1.04 and you get $10,816. So how much have you made in the 2 years, in those 24 months?
$816.
Agreed. So you don't go out and buy candy and stuff, or sneakers, or video games. You take that money, year 3, you put in your $10,816, right?
Yes.
And you multiply it by 1.04 if your rate of return is 4% for that year again, third year in a row, and now you've got $11,248.64. So you see you've gone from $10,000 to over $11,000, so you've made over $1,000 in 3 years because you keep taking everything that you gain, all the interest that you gain, you keep putting it right back. Right? You put it right back into your investment. And you just keep doing this over and over and over again. And then it compounds over time. And then in year 10, you have $14,802.44, assuming that every year your return on your investment is 4%. Okay?
Yeah.
So you don't touch that money. Like, what did we do? We got in the stock market for 2.5 years. But the stock market went up. It went up insanely. And then we took our money out, or your money, I guess, because we figured the stock market was going to crash or what have you. But from a compound interest standpoint, from a long view, right, invest your money and leave it there for years and years and years. So the compound interest issue comes into play, right? So year 10, if you do this every year and you keep reinvesting all your money and all the interest gained, then you would have earned $4,802 over 10 years, which is 48%. So if you start out with $10,000, you'd have 40% of the money that you put into it would now be basically your return on investment, right?
Your ROI?
Yes, exactly. So then you come down here, year 11, you don't stop there, you keep doing it. Keep doing it. You take the $14,802.44, you put it back into whatever it is you're investing in, assuming that you get the 4%, right? And now you've got $15,394.
Yep.
Take it, put it back in, over and over and over again. You do it for 20 years. What do you got?
$21,911.
So you have $21,911, right? So now, after 20 years, you've actually doubled your initial investment, which was $10,000. Now you've made $11,000, almost $12,000 in interest, because you kept reinvesting everything back into your investment, right? Again, assuming that it's 4% interest gained every year. So you don't stop there. You don't touch this money. You keep going. Boom. So let's say you get another 4% for another 10 years. What do you got? Boom. Year 30, in the 30th year, right?
Yeah, you have 32,000.
You have $32,434. So your $10,000 now has earned you $22,000. So your $10,000 now has earned you $22,000. Of course, there's inflation, so it's not the same thing as it is today. But as you can see, it grows. It grows over time, right? Then you don't stop there. You keep going. So you'd be, on year 30, you'd be what? How old would you be?
43.
You'd be 43 years old, right? So if we keep going another 10 years, right? At the year 40, you'd be what? 53 years old, right?
Yeah.
Now it's worth $48,000. You keep reinvesting every single year. And then boom, you've made $38,000 on that $10,000. So that's compound interest. That's like they talk about the power of compound interest. Your money grows when you just keep reinvesting it, and you get a percentage of interest working in your favor every year. Now, let's say that it wasn't 4%. What if your average return every year for 40 years was 6%? This is 6%. So you do everything the same, but you multiply by 1.06. So let's take a look at that a little closer. Here's 4%, 10 years. This is what you got, 4%, 10 years. This is what you got, 5%, and this is what you got, 6%. At 4%, your $10,000 made you $4,800. At 5% over 10 years, it made you $6,200. At 6%, it made you almost $8,000. So if you go from 4% to 6% over those 10 years, if every year your average return is 6% and not 4%, then you actually gain 64% more money, right? Or, in other words, on the $10,000, you made $3,100 more at 6% than 4%. So compound interest is important in everything, but as you can see, these little percentage points make a huge difference, a massive difference. The percentage points make a huge difference, and they make an even bigger difference as you go farther and farther along. So year 40, right, 40 years, when you're 53 years old, you're looking at a 144% difference. You see?
Yes.
So you're supposed to get into a diversified portfolio or what have you. Your interest rate can be anywhere from 4%, 6%. These are just some numbers you get an idea with. The average, so since 1965, the S&P 500 has produced total returns, including dividends, of 9.7% annualized. So the average return in the S&P 500 is 9.7%, which is more than 6%, right? It's a lot more. So these numbers will look a lot better if the S&P 500 continues that trend for the next 30 years, 40 years. If it performs exactly the same, and you average 9.7%, then your numbers will be a lot better than even these numbers, right?
True.
So here's the S&P 500 returns, 1928 to 2016. They're giving you an idea of where the returns fall in. So the average is 9.7% over all these years. 9.7% is the average return. So as you can see, on 27% of the time, the return was greater than 20%. Like, that's insane. Almost 8% of the time, your return was 15 to 20%, which is also insane, right? These are numbers that we didn't even come close to these numbers in the numbers we're looking at. 15.7% of the time, the return was 10 to 15%, which means 50%. 50% of the time, your return in the S&P 500 was over 10%, 50% of the time for all these years, right? Now, some of the times you came up negative, right? Like almost 8% of the time, it was -5 to 0, your return. So, it's not consistent. It fluctuates over time. But as you can see, 9.7% is the average return with the S&P 500. So, after seeing all this, what did we learn?
That the S&P 500 is doing a lot better than the numbers we use today.
The return on the S&P 500 is higher than the numbers that we looked at. Yes, true. On average over many years. It fluctuates dramatically though. So the numbers we gave were conservative. So we're looking at conservative numbers in comparison to what the S&P 500 does on average. However, you're going to go many years of down or up. I mean, it just fluctuates. So that's why you got to play the game long. So what do you think? Do you think you could put money in there and just keep reinvesting it every year for a couple decades? You think you could do that?
It's possible.
It's possible. Would you? But you can't touch the money. You'd have to leave it in there and keep reinvesting it. Would you do that, or would you buy something? Would you buy your girlfriend something?
Buying something sounds a lot more enticing.
That sounds more enticing. Maybe buy me something. But do you see? This is the power of compound interest, right? Yeah. This is what Warren Buffett's talking about. The idea is to keep the money in long term. So this is compound interest, and this is how it works. And it's, you got to look at the game as a long-term game. It's not a short game. It's not about making money in the short term real quickly. It's making money, investing money, and having your money make money over the long term. Hopefully that was helpful. That's it for now. Bye.
See ya.
I wish my mama and daddy had taught me about compound interest when I was growing up. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please ask and we'll try to answer them. Thank you for your time.